Folks, welcome back to Jerome Bee Farm and Homestead. It is Sunday, October 30th, and it is a beautiful day here in central Oklahoma. It's about 62 degrees, got a slight north wind, and man, it is just beautiful out here. Bees are flying a little bit, not too much. Checked all my feeders and they're all empty, so I got to make a run and buy me another 150 pounds of sugar. And on these warm days, get these light hives, get some weight to them. That drought, boy, it really did a number on about a third of my hives. About a third of them need more weight to them. I'm feeding those internally, and I'm also up at the barn quite a ways away. I'm doing just some open feed, and I'm putting a Pro Health feed stimulant in that open feed. It's got the lemongrass oil, thymol, all kinds of good stuff in there for your bee guts, make them nice and healthy. So yeah, this weekend we had our I'm not a member, but there was a Oklahoma Beekeepers Conference, and the Central Oklahoma Beekeepers Association, they hosted it, and they invited 628 Dirt Rooster up here, and he drove up, and he gave a real good talk, and I went to that. That was really cool. And on his way out, he actually stopped by here this morning, and we walked around, and he and his wife Elizabeth, and showed him the place. They had a good time. Randy shot a little video down here, so be looking for that on the 628 Dirt Rooster channel, where hobby beekeeping is a way of life. Yeah, check that out. But anyway, today I've been talking about doing a combine on, I got two really weak hives. They're like 2 frames of bees. Most beekeepers would probably just write them off or maybe combine them together. If you've been watching me a while, you know I'm not like most beekeepers when it comes to culling hives. I just can't let them go. So I'm gonna do a 3-way combine. I'm gonna put these 2 little weak hives on top of hive 12, the one that I put the hive defender from Saracell and the bees blocker on the front so it can't get robbed. And it's got a Saracell feeder on it right now, and I checked that, and they've cleaned it out. They emptied it out, and it's not got ants in it, which is a good thing. So let's get started. Let me show you first the equipment I'm going to use, and then we'll get going. So I have me here a double nuke box. So this is just a standard deep box, and I drilled a little hole for the entrance on both sides. Here you can see one, this other side from the back. So the entrances are opposite of each other. And you can rotate this little disc. You can open it wide open, vent, lock down, and queen excluder. So that's how that works. So it's a double nuke because it'll still hold 5 frames on each side of this divider. And it's got a screen here so the bees can kind of share the warmth, and it'll keep them still separate, so you'll have 2 different queens. Now, I didn't double screen these. I probably should have, because they can pass some pheromone between themselves if they can touch. And the idea behind a double screen is the bees can't touch and they stay separate. So this is the top here. So it sits down flush against all these so the bees can't cross over. And it's just an old piece of OSB I had from when they built our house. They was throwing away tons of that stuff. So it's not the greatest. It'll last a little while. But anyway, I'm going to use that for the top. And for the bottom, I'm going to use this. It's just that thin, I think that's 1/8 thickness, and I did double screen this, so the bees should not be able to touch there. However, the ventilation can come through, so they won't have too much moisture, and the warmth can come through this thin board here and also through this and keep the bees up here warm from the hive below. So hive 12 is not a real strong hive in its own, but it's way stronger than these other 2. So I'm going to be putting on the remnants of the beast hive. If you remember that, I'd split that hive 3, maybe 4 ways in the summer, And I said, man, I really don't want to do this, but it's such a big hive, I think it'll be okay. Well, essentially I killed that hive. I just wiped it out. So there were 3 nukes, maybe 4 over here, and I think at least 2 of them from that beast hive, maybe 3, and they've all been combined down into this box right here. And there's a queen in there, there was, but it's not very strong, so that's going to go in one of these top compartments. And the beast hive is number 16, and it's over here. So remember, it was a 3 deep full of brood, and it had a little bit of honey. And guess what? It's a nuke now, and it's down to 2 frames of bees. The queen that superseded in there after I split it, it's not a very good queen apparently. So yeah, don't split your hives like in August, or I don't remember exactly when I did. I think it was late mid-August, and I just didn't get good mated queens was the deal. If you're going to have queens that you bought and you'll have them on the ready, that would have worked. Good mated queens. All right, let's get started. Okay, we got our box set up here, so I'm just going to transfer the frames from the hive up into here, and then I'll get the lid on it. And I'm going to start out with a little bit of smoke on them because it's going to be pretty invasive to them. They might get a little grumpy. Okay, we've got this insulated cover on here, and as you can see, it's not a lot of bees in here. Looks like they're mainly on these 2 frames right here. Here's a nice honey and pollen frame, so I want to try and take that. Looks like there's a couple in here. So I'm going to try and shake these bees here off in there. I really need to get these 2 frames into the box, so when I shake them, they'll be more apt to light up on these frames instead of fly out. So we ought to find our queen in here. Yep, there she is right there, unmarked and little tiny queen. See, she's kind of lighter colored right there. There you can see her. Yeah, so she's okay, probably not bred real well. Little tiny thing. So she's likely to be superseded next year. Go ahead and get this in there. So this is mainly honey and places she could lay if she was to choose to. A little bit of honey there, and on this one. I'm going to leave 1 frame in here. So with this hive right here, this box, I'm going to leave 1 frame in here, and I'm going to shake everything over here I can and get the lid on. Then I'm going to leave 1 frame in here, so when the field bees come back later this evening, they'll all be on this frame, and I can just take this frame and set it right in here. And these other frames I'll cull. But I want one that's got this honey on there. This is a nice one here, so that needs to go in there without that yellow jacket. Get this off the bottom. So now I'm going to shake bees. There's quite a few down on the bottom board and on this side here. Let these little crumbs fall off, and I'll shake this in there, bang it. All right. The majority of our bees are in there. I'll set this back up with 1 frame. Put the wood blocks back on the front so it looks like it did before. Without smashing any, if that's possible. Come on, get out of there. There we go. So these bees are locked in there. They can't get out that cover. They can smell their queen there. You can see them on there. So these bees that are flying around will go in there and they'll get on that frame. And later on, I'll transfer it into here. So let's get on over to what's left of the beast hive and do the same thing. So I had just a little bit of an idea real quick. So you can see those bees gathering up there on that disc, and I rotated it so they could go in, and they started going in. So I thought, I'm just gonna move this box right here and shake this all out, and all those bees will fly to that box and go in it. So we'll see if that works. Yeah, it's working good. We'll give them a few minutes to settle out there and get acclimated, get back inside the hive, and then we'll move on over to the next one. And I do need to take care of these frames sitting out here with honey in them so I don't start a big robbing frenzy. That worked out real well. So I moved all those frames. I just put them in that same box and moved it over there. So that'll do okay for a little bit, but I do need to take them up, put them in the freezer, or get them into another hive. So I'm gonna go ahead and lock this down now. And actually I do need to move that hive back over here with one frame in it so the field bees will come back and I can grab it later like I planned initially. I want the one that had the most honey. I think that'll be this one. All right. So here's hive 16, and it's a double newt because I've got a jar feeder up there feeding them. So it's terrible weak. Let me get that other hive. I'll bring it over and I'm gonna set it right there, and we'll do basically the same thing. The other hive is on this side, so I'm going to slide this lid this direction so I still keep my other bees sealed off over there. I do have a few accidentally got in here when I was shaking them. If this will keep them isolated, I can work on this side, and that'll keep that from falling off there. Okay, let's get in this sucker, see what it looks like. Got a few bees out here on the front. So this was a 3 deep hive that was just exploding with bees. Unbelievable strong. Now it's unbelievable weak. Yeah, don't split your hives when you don't have a nectar flow. When there's not a lot of drones out there. So yeah, I was feeding them sugar. Now I can't put sugar blocks in this box here because the way it's set up, there's no way to put a shim unless I have a shim that's got a divider, which I could build one of those. They're not taking this very fast. I'll try and save as many bees as I can. They worked on that pretty good. So they like the solid sugar better than the liquid looks like. We had a few cool days, that may be why. So it actually looks a little stronger than last I was in here. So before it was just barely 2 frames of bees, and now we've got maybe 3. So let's get this one out of the way. See if there's any honey on it, because I want to try and do the same thing. Leave a honey frame behind here to catch my field bees, and then I'll transfer them over. So this is empty. So I almost didn't learn from the last time I did this over there. On the other one, I should put this down here and move them that way. That way the bees will go where they need to be. So I'm going to scoot this over and get it out of my way. Get this hive down here and then start transferring them around. Let's do this with one rock. There we go. Now I'm going to open up this entrance. Okay, let's transfer these frames and check out what our queen looks like. See how much food they have. So this here appears to be all full of uncapped nectar. Yeah. So they may have been getting in on that open feeding, or it's come from that jar, but they haven't taken a lot out of that jar. So this is pretty much all nectar where all those bees are sitting. So queen shouldn't be in that spot. And I'm going to try and keep them the same order as they are there. So actually I should take this other one and move it to the inside. And it's the same, it's all nectar where the bees are. And I don't see the queen, so she must be on that center frame. So I'm going to slide this over. So hopefully we'll see a queen on this frame. I ain't seeing nothing. I don't even see any, a little bit of brood. So all of her brood has emerged and she's not laying or nothing. Or maybe she's gone. Let's check this side out real good. A little bit of capped honey there. Well, I'm not seeing a queen. We need to do a good search here. Because if this side's queenless, there's no sense in keeping 2 separate hives. They should just be combined right now. What's interesting is there's a supersedure hive or cell right there that's chewed out, so like a queen has emerged there. There's one here. And it's not open. I don't think there's anything in it. Well, it's gone now. So they may have superseded, and then that virgin queen was not able to mate because it's just too late. I might find a virgin queen in here because there is absolutely no eggs, no, usually you will see a little bit of brood this time of year for your winter bees. I'm not seeing any. I think they tried to supersede is what happened. Unless I missed her on this first frame, I'd say this is a queenless hive. Yep, definitely. So one thing I've always said about beekeeping is, you know, be prepared to go with the flow, change your plans if need be. So there is no sense in doing this a 3-way combine, because this hive here, this little hive is queenless. Looks like they tried to supersede even again because their first queen didn't work out. And it was queen right last I checked. There was 2 frames of bees, and there's a little more bees in here this time. So her brood went on and hatched out. Looked like they tried to supersede, and it didn't work out. They just don't supersede in the fall. There's not enough drones around for them to mate with. In fact, since it's froze a couple times, they probably kicked all the drones out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get rid of this double nuke box. I'm just going to get a regular deep, and I'm going to get that double screen board, and I'll show you that. And these bees on top will combine. The bees on bottom and top will have 2 separate entrances. These bees here will have their own entrance and exit out of that double screen. So let me go run and get that, and then we'll get them combined over there on number 12. Okay, here's our hive 12 where we're going to put that other box on top. And I went and I grabbed that other box from down there and put those honey frames in there. So there were a few bees in that from the field bees coming back to that little hive. At this point, I'm not going to worry about the field bees. So I just grabbed that box and those frames that had the honey in it, and I'm going to set it on here on top of a double screen board. Let me show you that. So this is a double screen board. It's got screen on both sides so bees can't touch. So the theory is they won't be passing queen pheromone back and forth, so you can have 2 queens in one box. It has little entrances on the sides and the back and on the top and bottom. So you can make an entrance for the bottom box or the top box, whichever one you want. And they're on the sides and the front. So what I will do is I will open the top, and this will be the entrance exit for the box on top, and the ones on bottom will be separate. But first I'm going to shut this and keep it shut for 48 hours, and they're going to be locked down. So they need to reacclimate to this position 12. If I was to let them out when they went out to forage or do whatever, they wouldn't realize they're in a different location, and when they came back from their trip, they would go where their old hive was, and there won't be a hive there. So we need to lock them down for 48 hours. So I'm going to get this put on here, get the feeder moved. So I will need to come back to this hive and put a frame feeder inside of it, because only the top bees will benefit from a top feeder. So they've cleaned this up, and no ants. So this Ceracell feeder worked. There's a little bit of nectar right there that they couldn't quite get to in that corner, but it's empty. Nothing left behind. Get this on here real quick. I'm going to put my entrance to the back because I don't want them being confused. I want the new bees to be coming and going out this side, and the existing bees to use their existing entrance. So this will be the box I'm going to use. I'll go ahead and set it on there. Then we'll figure out, we'll leave the frames that have the most honey on the outsides. That don't have much at all. And we'll see what we have as far as frames go when we get that over here. This is my queenless side here. So I'm just going to grab them all 3, and I'm going to set them on one side. I'm not going to mix them all up. Try to keep things as peaceful as possible so the 2 hives aren't really combining without like doing a newspaper combine. But since they're queenless, it'll probably be just fine. Now I'm going to just rotate this thing around. Try to lose as few bees as possible. So we'll just get them queen and all and stick them right there. Try to get that covered up. So I can take all 3 of these frames, and they all have honey. This one has the most, so I want it right next to the bees. It's got just a little bit right there, so I'm going to put it on the outside. Put an inner cover on here, and I'm going to put my outer cover where it closes this off, so they're locked in. I'm pressing this direction with my hive tool to make sure that inner cover is pushed up against this outer cover. Make sure this is closed off. Well, it was almost a 3-way combine, but no sense in doing that, so change of plans midstream, that's okay. We got a few bees flying around here. I think mainly they're just after they smell this honey. So I don't think I lost a lot of bees, plus we combined the 2 weak hives into from 2 super weak ones into just a weak one. So we will give these 48 hours locked down, and then I will release them. I'll open this little entrance here in the back, and I'll get that top feeder back on them, or I'll figure out a way to feed them inside with the frame feeder, but it's full of frames now, so I really don't want to do that. So we'll get this top feeder on there, and also I will put a frame feeder in this bottom hive and pull a couple of frames out of there and check their stores. I should have done that when I had the lid off, but this was turning into a long video and I wanted to get all that done. So that is it. Key thing, be ready to change your plans, be ready to adapt and do whatever. You always need all kinds of miscellaneous equipment, so I didn't need this double nuke box, and it worked out fine. There's other variations I could have done here. I could do a newspaper combine and get rid of that little queen, and this really could probably be reduced down into 1 deep with the amount of bees. But I'm going to try and preserve that queen and see if we can get her through the next year. And I've seen little queens like that lay up a storm. Sometimes they'll really surprise you. But anyway, that's it for the video. Give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe on your way out. We'll catch you on the next beekeeping video. Y'all take care.